Smoke covered the skies of Velmora. The ground shook with every explosion. Tall glass towers, once shining in blue light, were now broken and burning. Screams filled the air. The Draxen were here, a race of cruel warriors who took every planet they touched. Kale ran through a broken hallway deep underground. He was young, only 20 cycles old, a simple technician with no training in war. His hands were shaking, and his heart beat fast. All communication centers were destroyed, except one, the old signal chamber hidden below the Capitol. He reached the heavy door, pulled it open, and entered the dusty room. The lights flickered. He sat down in front of the old transmitter and took a deep breath. He had seen friends die. His family, gone. His people were falling. This was their last chance. He pressed the power button. Sparks flew. The screen glowed weakly. He adjusted the dial and opened the mic. "This is Kale from Velmora. We are under attack. The Draxen have taken our cities, killed our leaders. We have no weapons left, no army, no hope. If anyone is out there, if anyone can hear me, please help. We are dying." He ended the message and set it to repeat, sending it to all deep space channels. Then he sat back, closed his eyes, and listened to the distant thunder of war above him. For 2 days, Kale stayed hidden. He heard nothing. No signal came back. He began to lose hope. Maybe no one was out there. Maybe they were truly alone. On the 3rd day, the sky changed. It began with a sound, a deep, humming vibration that made the walls shake. Kale ran outside and looked up. The clouds were moving fast, pushed by something strong. Then he saw them, giant black ships breaking through the clouds, shaped like arrows. They were unlike anything Kale had seen before. Others came out from hiding and stared at the sky. No one spoke. Then lights flashed on the bottom of the ships. Small objects dropped from them, fast, controlled, glowing blue. As they fell closer, Kale saw they were not bombs. They were soldiers. They landed hard on the ground with perfect balance. Black armor covered their bodies, helmets with glowing visors. Each one carried strange weapons. They looked around quickly, moved together, then began to walk toward the city ruins. The Draxen spotted them first. A group of Draxen fighters, tall and beast-like, ran to attack. The black-armored humans didn't run. They raised their weapons and fired. Blue energy shots hit the Draxen. One by one, the beasts fell. Kale could not believe it. These strange humans were stronger than anything they had ever seen. They didn't fight with fear. They fought with control, precision, like machines. One human soldier saw Kale and walked over. "Are you the one who sent the signal?" the soldier asked, voice calm but sharp through a translator. "Yes," Kale said, still shocked. "You're safe now. Stay behind the marked zone." The soldier turned and walked away. Kale wanted to ask so many questions. Who were they? Why were they here? Why help them? More humans landed. More Draxen fell. The humans moved fast. Their attacks perfect, never missing. In just hours, they pushed the Draxen away from the city. That night, Velmora saw no fires for the first time in weeks. The sky was calm. People gathered near the human base. A large circle was made where no one could enter. Machines were placed there, scanning the ground. Kale sneaked close, curious. Inside the circle, he saw the same soldier talking to a tall woman. Her armor had more markings. She seemed important. "The signal was weak, but we caught it," she said. "It worked," the soldier replied. "We landed in time." "Begin phase 1, the woman said. "We extract, then leave." Kale didn't understand. Extract what? He stepped back, but he had already been seen. The woman turned and walked toward him. "You are the one who sent the call." "Yes," Kale said. "You did a brave thing. Without your message, your people would have died." She paused, then added, "Rest now." The battle is not over, but you are not alone anymore. She walked away, and Cale stood in silence. But as he returned to the shelter, he remembered something. The way the woman said, "Extract." The way they scanned the ground. They were not just here to save them. They were here for something else. Still, he didn't speak. Not yet. For now, the city was safe. The skies were quiet. But questions began to rise in Cal's mind. Why were these humans so powerful? How did they reach so fast? And what were they really looking for? Far above, in the dark sky, the human ships floated like shadows, silent, watching. And deep below the city, something ancient slept. Something the humans wanted. The people of Velmora watched the skies for days. No more Draxan attacks. The human soldiers had built strong barriers around the city, their tall black towers rising fast from the ground. No one had ever seen machines like theirs, quiet, fast, and full of strange light. Cale walked among the ruins of his city. Children were laughing again. Families came out from hiding. Hope had returned, but Cale's mind was full of questions. Who were these humans? Why did they answer the call? What did they want? No one knew. At night, Cale returned to the edge of the restricted zone. The humans had placed tall energy fences there. He stayed behind them, watching. He saw more machines digging deep into the ground, always in the same spot. They were not just fighting. They were searching. Far above the planet, in the blackness of space, the human command ship floated like a silent fortress. Inside, Commander Rain Carter stood before a large screen. She stared at the red dot blinking on the map of Velmora. "We confirmed it," her second-in-command said. "The artifact is here, exactly where the old signal predicted." Rain's face showed no emotion. "Begin Phase 2. Keep the locals calm. No truth leaks." Not yet. Back on Velmora, Cale was walking near the ruins when he saw a strange object in the rubble, half buried, and glowing faintly. It looked like a broken piece of a machine, not alien, but human. He picked it up, wiped off the dust. A marking was printed on the side. TVF Scout, 47Y before contact. Before contact, but humans just arrived now, didn't they? Cale hid the piece in his bag. Later that day, he followed a group of human soldiers returning to their base. They were serious, quiet, never laughing, never relaxing. Like machines in armor. One of them noticed Cale watching and walked over. "You shouldn't be here," the soldier said, voice low behind the helmet. "I just want to understand. You saved us. But why?" The soldier paused. "We don't fight for free. Earth remembers." "Remembers what?" The soldier said nothing. He simply turned and walked away. That night, Cale couldn't sleep. He took the broken object to his hidden room. He opened its cover and found a tiny screen. When he connected it to a power cell, the screen blinked. A message appeared. "Survey log. Velmora. Energy signature detected. Human use recommended." Dated 47 years ago. Cale's heart beat faster. Humans had been here before, long ago. So this wasn't a rescue mission. They already knew about Velmora. They had been watching. He needed answers. The next day, he followed the humans again. This time, he saw her, Commander Rain Carter. She stood near the dig site, watching a strange machine cut into the rock. The ground glowed beneath the surface. Cale stepped forward. "Commander," he called out, "please, tell us the truth." She turned, eyes sharp. "What truth? You were here before. You knew what was on this planet. You didn't come to help us. You came to find something." Her face didn't change, but her eyes didn't deny it. "You're right," she said. "We came for the artifact. But your call made it urgent. The Draxan wanted it too." Cale's voice trembled. "So we are just a battlefield to you." "No," she said. "You are a people. And people deserve a chance to live. We gave you that. But only because you needed this. He pointed toward the machines digging. Whatever it is. She looked at him for a long moment. We fight wars no one sees, Kale. The galaxy is bigger than you know. You think the Draxan are monsters. There are worse out there. Much worse. And what's buried here? It can stop them. Or destroy us all. Kale stepped back. Then why do you want it? She turned away. Because Earth never wants to be weak again. Before Kale could speak more, alarms echoed from the edge of the city. Draxan forces inbound. A voice shouted through the comms. Rain looked toward the sky. Get everyone to shelter. Phase 2 is over. It's time for war. The sky turned red as fire rained from above. Draxan ships were returning, bigger and faster. This time, they came in numbers. The humans moved instantly. Soldiers took positions, turrets activated, energy shields rose. Velmora shook again under the storm of battle. Kale ran to help his people, leading families into shelters. But he kept looking back at the human base. Inside, the artifact was almost found. And whatever it was, Kale knew. It was the real reason humans had come. Not for kindness, not for justice, but for power. As the skies exploded and the ground trembled again, Kale whispered to himself, "What have we brought here?" And above them all, the stars watched in silence. The ground under Velmora shook like never before. Draxan ships roared through the sky, dropping fire across the horizon. But this time, the humans were ready. Black armored soldiers ran toward the front lines. Their weapons lit up the night with blue flashes. They fought with perfect timing, moving like they had practiced this war 1,000 times. Kale stayed inside the shelter, but his eyes kept watching the battle through the cracks in the wall. Outside, alien screams mixed with human orders. His people had no choice but to trust the strangers from Earth. But in Cal's heart, that trust was fading. While the soldiers fought, the machines at the dig site kept working. They didn't stop, not even during the attack. Huge drills spun deep into the ground. Scanners beeped louder every hour. Whatever the humans were searching for, they were close to it now. Commander Rain stood at the edge of the pit, eyes locked on the glowing lines in the soil. Her second-in-command stepped beside her. "Seismic readings confirm it. It's here," he said. Rain nodded. "Begin Phase 3. I want it out before the Draxan break through." Beneath the city, in a room full of wires and old tech, Kale sat staring at the broken device he found days ago. The words still blinked on the tiny screen. Human use recommended. He knew what it meant now. The artifact below wasn't just power. It was a weapon. Maybe the Draxan knew about it too. Maybe that's why they attacked in the first place. Not for Velmora, but for what was hidden under it. Kale couldn't sit still anymore. He left the shelter and ran toward the dig site. Smoke burned his eyes. Blasts shook the air. He ducked behind debris, moving fast through the chaos. When he reached the barrier, the guard stopped him. "I need to speak to the commander," he shouted. "It's important." The guards looked at each other. One of them spoke into a comm device. Moments later, Rain appeared. "You again," she said. "What now?" "You're digging up something you shouldn't," Kale said, breath heavy. "What is it?" She didn't answer. "I found one of your old scout devices," he continued. "You were here 47 years ago. You knew about the weapon." Now she spoke. "We didn't make it. Your planet is older than you think. Someone else built it. We found the signal long ago, but we didn't have clearance to come here. Until now." Kale stared at her. "Why didn't you just tell us?" "Because people panic," she said. "Because sometimes the truth is dangerous." Behind her, the ground cracked with a loud boom. The machine stopped. The drill lights turned red. A voice on the comm said, "We've reached the chamber." Kale stepped forward. "What kind of weapon is it?" Rain looked him in the eyes. "We don't know. That's why we're afraid." A team of soldiers lowered themselves into the hole. Minutes passed. Then one of them spoke through the radio. "It's a vault. Big. sealed tight, symbols on the walls. Not Draxon, not human. Another voice came. There's something inside. It's static. Then silence. Rain shouted into the calm. No reply. Cale felt his blood go cold. The ground trembled again. This time, not from battle. Something deeper. A pulse, like a heartbeat coming from under the surface. Suddenly, one of the machines near the pit exploded. Sparks flew. The energy fence fell. The ground shook harder. Then, light. Bright, blinding white light shot up from the dig site, like a beam tearing through the sky. The clouds above twisted. Even the Draxons stopped fighting for a moment. Everyone turned to look. Then the light disappeared. And the silence that followed was worse than any noise. Cale and Rain stared into the hole. Smoke poured out of it, thick and dark. No sign of the soldiers who had gone inside. "Get me visuals," Rain ordered. Technicians scrambled. Drones flew into the pit, their screens showing static. One drone finally sent back a picture. The chamber was open. Inside it was something massive. Metallic. Floating. Covered in ancient markings. It looked like it had been asleep for 1,000,000 years. And now it was awake. The screen turned black. Cale whispered, "You've made a mistake." Rain didn't speak. She just watched. Far above them, the Terran command ship received the update. Artifact found. Unknown power. Activated. A new message came from Earth. Prepare containment protocols. Back on the ground, the pulse from the artifact spread wider. Birds fell from the sky. Machines went dark. Even human tech started to fail. The weapon wasn't meant for anyone. It was meant to keep everyone out. Cale looked at Rain. She looked back at him. And in both their eyes, for the first time, there was fear. Silence wrapped Velmora like a heavy blanket. The artifact beneath the city had awakened, and the planet itself felt different. The air was thicker. The sky had a strange color. Machines, human and alien, had started to fail. Energy weapons flickered. Radios broke into static. Something deep underground had changed everything. Commander Rain stood at the edge of the dig site, staring into the smoke-filled pit. Her face was hard to read, but her fists were tight. Around her, her soldiers were tense, speaking in short, urgent tones. Cale stayed close, no longer hiding. Whatever this thing was, it was beyond them both now. "We shouldn't have touched it," Cale said softly. "We didn't wake it," Rain replied without turning. "We just answered." Cale looked confused. "What do you mean?" Rain finally looked at him. Her voice was quieter now. "The artifact. It sent a signal. Right before it activated. We don't know what it said, or who it was calling." Cale felt cold all over. "You mean it called something else?" Rain didn't answer. High above Velmora, in deep space, the Terran command ship tried to decode the signal. Dozens of analysts and AI systems worked at once. But the message wasn't in any known language. It wasn't even just a language. It was a pattern, like music mixed with thought. Alive. One officer stared at the screen in horror. "It's not a signal," she whispered. "It's a beacon." Back on the surface, the artifact hummed with a strange low sound. Velmora's skies began to swirl. Not like weather, but like something was being pulled closer. Cale and Rain both looked up. "We need to shut it down," Rain said. "We don't even know how it works," Cale replied. "We'll figure it out. Or we die trying," Cale added. Inside the human base, emergency lights flashed. Power was dropping. Engines were going dark. One of the officers ran up to Rain. "Commander, long-range sensors show a spatial tear forming. A wormhole. No origin. It's opening above the artifact." Cale's eyes widened. "Something's coming through." "Yes," the officer said, shaking. "But not Draxon. Not human. Something else." Suddenly, the sky cracked with light. A circle of burning energy opened above the city. It wasn't natural. It wasn't science. It was something older. From that glowing hole, something began to appear. At first it looked like a ship, huge, dark, with a surface that moved like liquid metal. But as it came closer, it looked more like a living thing, a creature made of steel and light. All weapons locked onto it, but Rain didn't give the order to fire. "It's not attacking yet," she said. Kale could barely breathe. "What is it?" Rain's voice dropped. The reason this weapon was buried. The artifact in the pit responded. Its hum grew louder. Symbols on its surface glowed bright red. It wasn't just waking up. It was angry. A wave of energy burst from it, knocking over soldiers, burning out machines, tearing the ground apart. Kale fell to his knees. All around them, the city crumbled again. Then, from the sky, the metal creature spoke, not with sound, but directly into every mind. "This world holds what was stolen." Everyone heard it. Every human. Every Velmoran. Even the dying Draxon on the battlefield stopped and looked up. Kale grabbed his head. It was like a voice and a memory together. "Return it, or be unmade." Rain shouted into her comms. "Get all forces to the ship. Prepare evac. Now." But there was no time. A beam of light shot from a creature in the sky, aimed straight at the artifact. The ground around it exploded in a shockwave of force. The artifact responded by rising into the air, metal parts unfolding like wings. It wasn't just a weapon. It was a guardian. Or maybe a key. And it didn't want to be taken. Kale and Rain watched as the two ancient forces, one in the sky, one from the earth, locked in a silent, deadly standoff. "We need to leave," Rain said. "This isn't our fight anymore." Kale looked at her, his voice quiet. "It never was. But if we don't stop it, this world is finished." "So what now?" She pulled a small device from her belt. "A silver cube. This is the only way I know how to stop something like this." "What is it?" "A failsafe." Kale hesitated. "What does it do?" "Wipes out everything in a 10-mile radius, artifact included." Kale froze. "That will kill everyone. Humans, Velmorans, everyone." She nodded slowly. "Sometimes war leaves no good choices." He looked at her, searching her face. Was she serious? Could she really do it? But before he could speak again, the artifact shot a beam toward the sky creature. The two forces collided, sending shockwaves in every direction. Buildings collapsed. The ground split. Fire rained down. Time was running out. Kale made a decision. He grabbed the cube from Rain's hand. "I'm taking it," he said. "You don't even know how it works," she snapped. "Then I'll learn fast. Because if we both stay, we both die." She looked at him, young, afraid, brave. "Good luck," she said. Kale turned and ran toward the artifact, the cube tight in his hand. Behind him, the sky burned. Ahead of him, the earth cracked. And in the middle of it all, a choice that could end a world, or save it. Kale ran through the smoke and ash, gripping the silver cube tight in his hand. Around him, Velmora was falling apart. Buildings collapsed like paper. The ground split open in long cracks. The artifact floated above the pit now, glowing with violent light, locked in a silent war with the creature from the sky. Behind him, Commander Rain shouted through her comms, ordering a retreat. Human dropships began lifting off, carrying soldiers back to orbit. But Kale didn't look back. He wasn't running away. He was running toward the end. The silver cube pulsed in his hand. It felt cold, too cold, like it didn't belong in this world. It wasn't made by humans. It wasn't made by Velmorans. Maybe not even by the same ones who built the artifact. It was old. It was dangerous. And it was the only option left. At the edge of the crater, he stopped. The artifact hovered there, shifting, changing shape, reacting to the threat in the sky. Its red glow was growing brighter. Kale knew it was building energy, preparing to release something big. One last blast, enough to destroy everything. "Stop," he shouted. The artifact didn't respond. Maybe it couldn't hear him. Maybe it didn't care. Cale took a step forward. "I know you weren't built for this war. I know you were meant to protect something, not destroy it." Still, no answer. The cube pulsed again. Faster now. It was active. Cale's heart pounded. He looked up. The sky creature loomed above, silent and still, waiting. They were both waiting. Cale held up the cube. "If I use this, you all go down," he whispered. "Is that what you want?" The artifact turned. It didn't speak, but something changed. Its glow dimmed. The red lights on its surface flickered. It paused. For the first time, it hesitated. Cale stepped closer. "What are you protecting? What's inside you that's worth all this?" The artifact sent out a small pulse, a wave of soft blue energy. The ground trembled again, but this time it didn't crack. Instead, a platform rose slowly from beneath it. In the center, a pod. Metal. Sealed. Covered in strange symbols. Not human. Not Draxon. Not even like the artifact itself. Cale walked to it slowly. The cube in his hand grew warm. He touched the pod, and it opened. Inside was a body. Small, thin, glowing faintly. Not human, but not fully alien either. Something in between. Its skin shimmered. Its chest rose and fell. Still alive. Cale stepped back, stunned. "It's alive." The artifact pulsed again, this time with a message. Not in words, but in images. Cale saw flashes in his mind. A memory. The creature in the pod was the last of its kind. The survivor, buried here thousands of years ago, hidden on Velmora, protected by the artifact, watched by ancient guardians, and now, awakened too soon. The sky creature had come for it, not to destroy, but to retrieve. Cale looked up. "You're not enemies." The artifact pulsed again, this time weakly. Then the sky creature moved. Slowly, carefully, it descended. Cale stepped away from the pod. The artifact lowered itself too. For a moment, the battlefield went quiet. Even the wind stopped. A connection formed between the artifact and the creature in the sky. Light passed between them, blue and gold. Calm, not war. Peace. Cale dropped to his knees, shaking. He had almost destroyed it all. Behind him, Rain approached. Dirt on her face, one arm bleeding, but alive. She looked at the scene, at the pod, the light, the sky creature, and said nothing for a long time. Then finally, it wasn't a weapon. Cale nodded. It was a vault, a tomb, a promise. They both watched as the pod rose into the air, carried gently by the light. The artifact and the sky creature circled it like guardians. Then together they rose higher and higher, back into the stars. And then they were gone. The portal above closed. The sky returned to blue. The ground stopped shaking. It was over. Cale let out a breath he didn't know he was holding. Rain looked at him. "You saved this planet." "No," Cale said quietly. "We almost ended it, because we thought everything strange must be a threat." She looked down at the cube still in his hand. It had gone dark. "I'll make sure Earth hears the truth," she said. "All of it." Cale nodded. "And I'll make sure my people remember. Not just what we survived, but what we learned." Above them, the stars were quiet again. But they both knew the galaxy would never be the same. Weeks had passed since the skies over Velmora burned with light. The artifact was gone. The being in the pod had vanished with it. The giant creature from the stars never returned. And for the first time in generations, the war had stopped, not because one side had won, but because both sides were too shaken to keep fighting. But something had changed. Cale stood on the edge of the crater, where the artifact had once hovered. Now it was filled with water, clear and still, like the world had covered its wound. Around it, grass was already growing. Birds were returning. Velmora was healing. But the silence wasn't peace. It was waiting. Above, in orbit, Commander Rain looked down at the planet from the Terran ship. Reports flooded in daily, from her people, from Earth, from hundreds of sensors and black box records, all trying to explain what had happened. But the truth was stranger than anyone expected. The artifact signal hadn't been random. It was old, so old that even Earth's oldest databases didn't recognize it. But someone somewhere had once known that code. The ones who built the vault, the ones who buried that sleeping being, the ones who had vanished from the galaxy. Until now. One of Rain's officers turned to her. "We've been picking up echoes." She raised an eyebrow. "What kind of echoes?" "Same pattern, same frequency, but not from Velmora. Other places, deep space, planets we haven't even mapped yet." Rain leaned forward. "How many?" "At least 5, maybe more." She stared at the screen. "They're waking up." Back on Velmora, Kale met with the council. His people had seen things they couldn't explain. Power beyond weapons, technology beyond science, a war between silence and understanding. And now they'd look to Kale, not just as a survivor, but as a witness. "What do we do now?" one elder asked. Kale didn't speak right away. Then he said, "We learn, we prepare, and we listen." He pulled out the small silver cube Rain had given him. It was dead now. No light, no signal, but it felt important, like a key or a warning. Later that night, Kale sat alone by the water. The stars shimmered above. For a long time, he thought he saw nothing. But then, a flash, a streak of silver, far above, cutting across the sky. Not a falling star. A ship. Moving too fast, too smooth, too quiet. He watched it vanish into the distance. Not human. Not Draxon. Something else. He didn't feel fear this time. He felt curiosity. On the Terran ship, Rain's comms crackled. New signal detected. Outer rim. Unknown origin. Matching ancient pattern. She didn't need to ask. She already knew. "Course correction," she ordered. "Send a scout." Quietly. The officer hesitated. "Commander, should we report this to High Command?" She paused. "No, not yet." She looked out the window, at the stars. "If this is bigger than we thought, I want to understand it before the war machines get involved." Below, on Velmora, Kale carved something into the stone near the crater. Just a few simple lines. The symbol he had seen on the artifact. The one that had appeared right before the pod opened. It wasn't a weapon. It was a door. And doors lead somewhere. He stood up, the wind brushing his face. Tomorrow, teams from Earth would come. Scientists, soldiers, experts. They'd ask questions. Dig deeper. Try to control the unknown. But Kale had already found his answer. The universe wasn't silent. It was speaking. And finally, someone had listened. The sky over Velmora was no longer a battlefield. It had become something else. Something sacred. Kale stood on the high cliffs, overlooking the green hills and the still crater lake below. The winds carried the scent of new life. Where once there was fire and war, now there was silence. And something deeper, memory. Down below, humans and Velmorans worked side by side. They weren't soldiers now. They were builders, explorers, learners. The artifact had left more than destruction. It had left questions. And maybe a path. Kale touched the silver cube one last time. It hadn't lit up since that day, but he still kept it close. It had become a symbol now, a reminder. Behind him, a voice broke the quiet. "You still watching the stars, Kal?" He turned. It was Commander Rain, her uniform dusty, her eyes tired, but her voice warmer now. "Just making sure they're still watching back," Kale said with a small smile. She stood beside him, looking up. There's movement on the edge of Terran space. Signals, lights we can't track. Some say it's pirates. Others think it's just space junk. Cale shook his head. You don't believe that? No, she said softly. I don't. A moment passed. Then Rain reached into her pocket and handed him a small device, round, smooth, and pulsing faintly. Another signal came in last night, she said. Same pattern as before, but different location. Another vault? Cale asked. We think so. This one's on a dead moon. No life. No atmosphere. No reason anyone would go there. Until now. She nodded. They want us to come, Cale said quietly. Or they're warning us to stay away. Cale turned the device in his hand. It buzzed faintly, like a whisper waiting to speak. Are you going? He asked. I have to, she replied. Earth's watching now. They want answers. Cale looked down at the lake again. And if what you find isn't peaceful? Rain didn't answer right away. Then she said, then we'll find another way. We've already seen what fear does to people. This time, maybe we lead with something else. Cale nodded. Understanding. Hope, she added. He smiled again, more to himself than to her. You've changed, Commander. We all did, she said, when the stars remembered us. A sharp beep interrupted their moment. Rain touched her earpiece, listened, then sighed. My ride's here. Cale offered the small cube back to her. She shook her head. Keep it. I think it still likes you more than me. He laughed once. Fair. Rain turned to leave, then stopped. You ever think about leaving Velmora? Cale looked around. Sometimes. And then I look at what we saved, what we still have to learn, and I stay. She nodded. If anything goes wrong, I'll send word. I'll be listening. Rain gave him a final look, then walked down the hill toward her shuttle. Cale stayed on the cliff, alone again, watching the shuttle rise into the sky. As it disappeared into the clouds, he whispered to himself, come back with answers. The wind answered with silence. Later that night, under a sky full of stars, Cale sat by the lake. Children played in the distance. The Velmoran sky sang with a light breeze, and far above, faint traces of light moved across the heavens. Not shooting stars. Ships. Messengers. The ones who built the vaults. They were still out there. Watching. Waiting. Maybe testing. And maybe remembering. Cale looked at the cube again. And for the first time in weeks, it blinked. Just once. Then went still. He smiled. Where once humanity had only fought to survive, now they were something more. Now they were part of a story far greater than war. Now they were part of the stars.